This is not the exact picture, but I actually took a picture of premises, commercial premises up the road from me. And the landlord created a sign like this. This is not the exact one because I couldn't find the picture for this webinar. But the premises, he said like for lease written like this, all cramped up with the call is 041 cell number written like this. Who the hell's going to rent a commercial premises with a sign like this? And I actually phoned the number because I knew one day I was going to be talking about this because this illustrated exactly the point I'm talking about. And he wanted $3,500 a month for the premises because it was quite a big premises. But if he went through an agent and got a professional sign, he would have to pay the first month's fee to the agent, which was $3,500. So he said, oh, no, wait, that's too expensive. I'm going to be very clever and do a sign myself. So the place sat empty for 7 months. Actually, I think it was even longer. But it was around 7 months because I used to monitor this. And I used to tell my wife, look at this idiot. I guarantee you how much, mark my words, true as God. 7 months later, his place was still for rent with this funny sign. $3,500 times 7 is $24,500 this idiot lost because he is trying to save $3,500. This is just not smart. This mindset is endemic. It's everywhere. And it's very hard to break. It's very hard to break and try and tell someone. This next picture is also very, very important. I learned this lesson, exactly what I'm telling you about. So this is me there on the phone, and this is our first little shop after we started to make a breakthrough. And the breakthrough came through what I'm about to tell you. When I stopped thinking like my cheap mindset disappeared. So when we first started our business, our thing was, we've been very smart. We're going to go to all these suppliers and buy the cheapest parts for buying computers. When we shifted and sifted from selling hardware, which we made no money, we moved into selling hardware that you see on the screen. But our thing was, which most people think, we'll buy the cheapest parts from all the suppliers, 6, 7, 8 of them, put the computer together and sell it and make maximum profit. That's what we thought we were very clever. We didn't realize, as you can see in the background, all the technicians and all the work and all the stuffing around to get these boxes together, and half the time the stuff wouldn't work because it's incompatible. And then one day I was at a meeting, whatever, and this one dude who was a successful guy in this industry said to me, he said, I can see you guys are young and ambitious, but here's your problem. You got a cheap mindset. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, forget about playing around with all this cheap rubbish. Go and see these guys. You can see this big banner here, Mustic. You're going to pay more for this stuff, but you're jumping at the little pond into the bigger playing fields now. So all the cockroaches that you're fighting with, they all do what you're doing. They're all scratching around, trying to buy cheap, putting parts, wasting your time. You should be focusing on growing your business, not stuffing around trying to put a computer together. Man, that was a powerful message. So what I did was, this was, for those who know my story, whatever, well, I did my first joint venture ever when I went and saw Mustic. And I sat down with the guys and I said, I got this plan, I got this shop, we got this blah, blah, did this whole pitch. We want to buy your stuff exclusively for our market. And can we do some sort of deal? And we did the deal there. You can see their stuff was exclusive to our business. This little business went from this tiny little thing, it actually was smaller than this, to a national business overnight because I got rid of my cheap mindset. So let's go back. What do successful people do? They have strong pillars and build strong buildings. You always cut your fat in your business. You never, ever cut your muscle. And what I learned in that meeting, I learned how money flows. You can't do this journey by yourself. It's impossible. I moved from being a little tadpole and I started getting into the bigger fish because I changed my mindset by being a cheap ass. I just didn't understand how it worked. And two more things. The time is not right. This is another story that drives me nuts. There's no such thing as the perfect time. That's just a nice, beautiful cushion you create yourself to justify your fear of not taking action. Trying to be perfect in fear of criticism or failure and all those things I talked about earlier. There's no such thing as a perfect time. There never is. There's problems every day in business. Whether you're successful or unsuccessful in business, you've got problems every day. It's just successful people just deal with the problems and get on. It's unsuccessful people, as I said, get caught in the twigs. And the final piece that I want to talk to you about is What are you prepared to sacrifice to where you want to go? And this is the question I love to ask people, because this is when I hear all the stories. Basically, how bad do you really want to do whatever you're trying to do in your life? And there's a great saying that, entrepreneurs are prepared to do what others won't, so that they can live a life others can't. And I thought that was one of the best quotes I've ever seen, because what are they prepared to face? End of the day, you guys on this webinar, you're on this journey. What have you really got to lose? What is the worst that can happen? I mean, you may think, oh, I'm secure in a job. You can get fired tomorrow. Then what are you going to do? Have you got a skill to help yourself be independent for the rest of your life? You know, if pushing a little truck, giving a little push once a week, which is what most people do, that's how they think they build a business. They're convincing themselves they are pushing the truck along. The truck doesn't move. You give it a little push. The truck is your business. So what are you prepared to sacrifice? How hard are you prepared to push that truck or get on this bicycle like you see and do to get where you want to go? Only you can answer that question. All right, so we've covered quite a lot. Let's just take a quick recap of what's going on here. We looked at the mindset and business strategies. We looked at what does success really mean. We looked at your 3 lives. We looked at why people are so stressed today. And then we looked at the mindsets, the difference between everyday dreamers and successful achievers. So the thing now is, okay, well, this is great. Thanks for the great theory. How do you put this practice into the real world? And if you like this philosophy that I'm teaching you, well, this is how you do it. There's 5 steps. How to create the right balance, remain motivated, guilt-free, and be happy while building a successful business. I've already explained the powerful meanings of all those words. They're very important. And I learned about all these real pressure points that I'm telling you about from my own personal journeys, plus helping dozens and dozens of business owners over the years, and including business partners of mine who've been trapped with personal dramas in their lives because of the stuff that I've been telling you about. And sometimes we've had to terminate that business. I've had to move in different directions because of these situations. This is how pressing these situations are that you need to be aware of, because they're definitely going to come up in your life if they're not already there in your life. So does any of this sound familiar? You're constantly feeling guilty about how hard you work. You got family, you got partners, you got kids. Do you think you're neglecting them because of the pressure of the business? Do you feel like, neglecting these loved ones? Constant pressure from the loved ones. How do you create this balance so that, that you got to work to get the results, but I'm burnout or I'm neglecting others? How do you get all this balance right? How do you still get your business working if you're not working, or how hard do you have to work? Now, what is the formula for motivation so that you actually keep going and it turns to discipline? So I want to share a 5-step process with you that I've used over 25 years, that it's no hype or fluff or rubbish. It's absolutely what I use in my personal life. And I'm going to take you through each of these and show you, does it really work? It really, really does work. So the first thing you got to do is you got to release the pressure valve. Then you got to set quarterly targets, both financially and personally. Then you got to set goals and tasks to achieve too. Otherwise, nothing works. That's not rocket science. Then I'm going to show you the micro reward system. And I hope that you will find it quite revolutionary. I think it's a fantastic tool that I've used. Everyone I've shown it to who's implemented it has definitely changed their lives. And then, of course, you need an action plan. Otherwise, you're just a theory reading a book. Nothing ever happens. So let's take a look at number 1. Release the pressure valve. So what do I mean by this? You got to stop caring what people think about you. You got to stop worrying if you make a mistake. You got to stop comparing yourself to others like I showed you before, particularly on social media. You got to free yourself from these chains. Just think about this for a second. Your entire life is on hold because of fear of some clown's opinion. Some drop kick who's never done anything, but he's happy to rip you apart. But you put your life on hold because you take it as a personal attack. You can't let people do this to you. All right? Surround yourself with people who support you, not tear you down. Now, I know that's a touchy subject for some people, but I'm going to show you how you can try and fix this. And the thing, get help before it's too late. Get rid of the ego. I am too proud to get help. Get rid of that rubbish out of your brain right now, because I'm going to show you a story in a sec what happened to me, because I was that person who thought I knew everything. No one could tell me what to do. My ego was so big, and life kicked me up the butt so hard. So let me show you what happens if you don't get this under control. So there's a very sexy picture of me back in the 90s in my father's shed. That's a true story. You can see those unbelievable cool board shorts my mother made me. But this was the office, my father's shed. This is a true story. There's the homemade desk, plastic chair. My bed was there. There's my briefcase that was worth more than anything in the whole room. But that's how I started out. And this is my partner, Gary. And this is the trade show that we worked so hard to save money to go to that. That's where my first $800 went, to buy this little trade show that we went to, and we didn't sell anything. We got a couple of interests and we chased the leads, but nothing happened. But that was the start of the journey. This is all of you, in particular those who work with me, you got to keep going. You just got to keep going. And what happened after a while, we started shifting from computer software, which didn't work. We started selling computer hardware. So this is our first little shop. That's my cousin in the middle, Sheldon. He was my first employee. We got him real cheap because we couldn't afford him. But he was happy to help out. And that little shop we put together ourselves, and you can see it over there. And again, you heard the story about how I did my first joint venture with a big player. I got rid of that cheap mindset syndrome that I had. And man, this business just started going nuts. So in the second year, we hit $1 million turnover. For the first 16, 18 months, we did nothing. So this big, massive spike came in the last few months of that second year. So you can what I'm trying to show you is how if your mindset changes and you start to do the right things, how your business goes. I'm not saying it's an easy journey, but it's a necessary part you have to change. Then what you see here is, this is in the third year, after 3 years, this is our first superstore. You can see how big this thing was. We're putting it together. There's Gary. We're putting this all together. And this is a finished product. You can see how all my salesmen there, all the admin officers. This is the growth within 3 years because of that one change I told you about. And then this is the opening of our second store in Cape Town. This is my staff. This is the queues for the specials we had. This was the opening special. So in year 4, we did $7 million. So you can imagine the growth and how clever I thought I was on this journey. And so what happened was, you know, I was riding a complete high on this, and I thought everything was marvelous. And then by year 5, we hit the $12 million mark, and you can see the success I had. And so what happened at this stage, success was really a bad thing for me because I thought I had all the answers. My ego kicked in, my pride kicked in. And unfortunately, what happened was I then got wiped out. What happened was my business outgrew me. I mean, I've just shown you growth from like being these 2 little clowns in a tiny shop to running 2 superstores plus other stores. Plus I had a B2B arm. I had so much stuff going on. I wasn't mentally prepared for all of this lot. My mindset was just not mature enough to sort this out. I needed so much personal development to get rid of my ego, all my problems. Basically my own ego and pride got in my way. And what happened was I just burnt out. This business for me and Gary, I mean, just trying to handle this load for 2 kids who really knew nothing was an absolute disaster. So I got wiped out. And when I say I got wiped out, it was incredible pain. But the sheriffs came and locked up the shop. And now Gary and I, we were very well known because we had lots and lots of awards, as you can imagine, suppliers getting this kind of money from us. We were really well known. So now you get put in the paper as these guys who went bankrupt. Well, you can imagine how painful that was. And I remember this was the hardest thing I did in my life. I had to phone my father and tell him, I've lost my business. I mean, I still remember shaking and trying to explain to him what a bloody arsehole I was. I've lost my business. And then my poor mother was taking phone calls from the creditors demanding money. And my mother's not a sophisticated lady. She's lovely, but she's just a housewife. She's just my mom. So her dealing with this lot, you can imagine how freaked out she was. So anyway, I put my family through this. And the reason why? Because I wasn't prepared to get help. I was this clever little clown who thought I knew everything, and I got taken to the cleaners. This is the real cost. This is reality. And unfortunately, 96% of businesses end up like this. And I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemies. But for many years, eventually I licked my wounds. I got the courage to get back up and try again. But this time, everything I've shown you on the call to this point is what I implemented in my life. And I climbed back up again. And I'll show you that journey shortly. And this is how it changed my life. So this is, you know, some stuff that's quite dear to me. It's the truth. It's the pain. So let's take a look now at step number 2. So step 1 was release the pressure that I've just told you about and start to get focus and balance in your life. The next step is you need to set quarterly targets. I'm going to show you a cool system now. So actually, let's go to that right now.